Good afternoon. I'm Adam Jones with Firefly MSP, and I'm here today with Marcelo Vergara. Did I pronounce that right?
That's correct. Yep, just like Sophia.
I always just call you
Because
Cello. So
that's right.
I don't know that I've
Much
ever
easier.
said your
It's
full
short
name
than
out sound. But we've been working together for, I'd have to go back and look at how many years, but based on lease lengths, I think it's at least 7 or 8 years.
It's at least 2012.
Yeah. So we
I
met
think
at Key
2012,
Coffee.
13 maybe. Yep.
Yeah, there was a coffee shop in City Market, still is, different ownership, but same coffee shop. And I think everybody in the neighborhood, whether you lived or worked there, kind of congregated there.
You were forced into it.
Exactly. So we've been working together ever since. Given the nature of what you guys do, your need for us, I think, is sometimes limited, just because you're fairly tech savvy kind of internally, but we've definitely helped with network projects and things along the way.
A lot. I think more than you know, more than you may give yourself. Yeah, we're certainly tech savvy, but there's just some things that you have to call the doctor for, and that always makes sense to me.
Well, and to that point too, it always makes me laugh when we have people in industry similar to yours, and you'll have that initial conversation. They're like, we've got programmers, whatever, on staff. We don't need IT. And then you're like, so you're willing to pay them their hourly rate to do IT work? And they're almost always like, oh, no, that probably isn't a great idea to have them set up all these computers.
I usually refer to that as you haven't done the math, have you? And as a advertising guy, when I have to tell you haven't done the math, that's usually not the best. Right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, you got to do the math, and you got to know when to call in people that actually know. It's fundamentally.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same for us. I used to make my own websites, and I don't do that anymore. It's
no,
so I guess that leads us into a good first question. So you're the owner of Propaganda3. Can you tell us a little about what you guys do?
Yep. Founded in 2001, we build software for a living. So that software, the flavor of that software is mostly a lot of websites, a lot of apps, iOS and Android apps, and a fair amount of what I would call experiential or just kind of special projects. Kind of some people might consider it skunk works or black ops type stuff, but what we try to do then is just work within the software area. So we've been doing that for a long time. I did that prior. Got involved in the internet business in 1994. So P3 in a way is the now I call P3 version 3 after 20 years, and continuing to evolve and continuing to learn. Today, it's a neat group. It's a neat group of people that I'm working with today.
So how has business been for you guys in 2020?
Well, interesting to say the least. It's been the tale of 2 years already. It's probably 6 years within the 1 year. It feels like each month is a year. But a lot of our, as you know, a lot of our business comes from the event industry, and so we were getting ourselves all lined up in February for the coming season of everything, and by the middle of March, we kind of knew, boy, this is going to be a real challenge. It was difficult. It was difficult to get a lot of cancellations. It was disheartening, really disheartening at the beginning of the year. And trying to figure out, okay, how's this going to really affect us? And always at the back of your head, I'm thinking, it's internet time. Maybe it will be the people that have never taken it as serious as they could have would take it a lot more seriously as an actual business instrument. And it didn't start that way, but boy, by about the very second week of April, it started to turn for us pretty hard, and the first thing that came to us was, well, we lost a lot of projects that were going to be in the latter half of the summer, because if we're doing projects in February and March, those are going to get delivered in May and April and in June. We started seeing, the first wave came as COVID pages. Now it sounds, maybe silly, but we were just putting up COVID warnings and COVID pages, landing pages, and things like that. And that kind of gave us a little bit of wind at our back in April. And by May, it was full on everybody was calling, and it's been a pretty serious set of demand on I think everybody in this industry right now,
Hmm.
finding good work and that. So the first half challenging, scary, um, in so many levels. What would be the same after this? How is this all going to work? I can remember sitting in here. We've got 6,600 square feet of big office space, and I came in by myself for all the way to June 8th, and
Hmm.
that was interesting. But this latter half has, first of all, we have an amazingly resilient crew, and things have kind of solidified for us, and it's turning out to be a good year, and
Hmm.
one that I think we can build on. A
Yeah.
lot has changed in these 6 months.
Yeah. Well, I think the when people start focusing on 2021, I've talked about this on these sessions before. I don't know what magic wand people think is going to get waved on January 1st to make things better, but it's the same magic wand that I don't think is going to get waved on November 4th, by the way. I think a
Yeah,
lot of people are holding out for some magical change in circumstances, and it's just that's a surefire way to get left behind. Because even when events
I
start
agree.
back up, it's not going to be the same. Like
No,
there's going to have to be a hybrid online component for sure, which is going to be an interesting subset of new opportunities
yeah,
probably for you guys into how you marry an
absolutely.
online experience with an in-person experience.
Yeah, I think the good thing. I'm 55 now, and the good thing about being old, in the way, as I like to say, is that we've seen enough. And
Mhm.
and I think the magical thinking that things change on a dime because of whether it be an election or the turnover of a new year is just patently wonderful magical thinking. It's great. This is nice things that I tell my kid, but it's not something I'm not going to bank my life on it.
Mhm.
I would agree that what has to happen now is the lessons have to be followed all the way through. And
Mhm.
there's been good lessons. I mean, there's been some really mind sharpening and idea sharpening requirements. And I'm kind of a student of history in the sense that I follow a lot and I read a lot of history. And I look at after the Spanish flu in 18, 17, 18, and 19, and what you realize is it's 4 or 5 years.
Mhm.
You're right. No one is going to go to a concert in May of 2021 and not look around, right? Even if they said, hey, everybody's got vaccinated, we're still going to be, what's going on? Am I really want to be in here? I think we're going to see masks you know, as a normal part of your outfit for the next 2, 3 years, maybe. In
Mhm.
in weird, I wouldn't say weird, but in circumstances where you're unsure. Um, and I think that's going to prompt a whole new way of thinking about our business, about how people gather, and certainly for us, what we can't do is sit here and think that we're going to go back to being an events app maker overnight, back to status quo, and suddenly the the 20 plus events that we supported suddenly are going to fire all back up in full blown. And
Mhm.
as you know, I have a little bit of experience actually managing an event, and I don't see that event returning, and I'm not involved with it anymore, but I don't see that one returning for 2 to 3 years if it
Mhm.
does.
Yeah.
um, so yeah, the world is definitely different, and now it's time to learn to live in it.
Mhm.
um,
Yeah, no, I
we've
sometimes
made
think
this
about
bed, we got to deal with it.
absolutely. Sometimes in the limited social, like in-person social interactions I have to this day, I feel like I'm gonna have to eventually readjust to like in-person communication again. Because I mean, Zoom's great, but it's not the same. Like even things like eye contact, it's impossible to make
Yeah,
eye contact on Zoom. So
no,
it's
I know.
like,
You keep trying to
yeah,
figure out, where am
you
I
look at the
looking? Am I
camera
looking
and
at
then
the
you're
green
like, oh,
light
I'm
on my
not
mind?
looking.
And I look at it. I was trying to position everything, but you're right.
Hmm.
It's all new, and it's, I think the toughest thing with when something is new, but it's um, and it's not the proper word, but it's a perversion of what the normal state would be. How we return, I think, to that normal state is just going to be awkward a little bit.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
like I said, I think I'll still be I mean, it's going to be a long time. I had coffee with somebody this morning, and I sat in my car until they got there,
Hmm.
over at PT's in
Hmm.
the crossroads, and I wait till he gets there, and he gets there, and the first, my first attempt is to sit out on one of the tables until it's just too damn cold to sit out on one of the tables, and I kept just kind of looking over my shoulder. I noticed there's nobody in there. We went in and sat down, just the two of us, and
Hmm.
kind of got warmed up, and then it became like, as soon as people start coming in, you could visibly, I could feel his stress. He could feel
Hmm.
mine, and we're both, well, it's probably time to go.
Yep.
And so um, that's it's going to be a while.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I hold out hope for the businesses that are in that category that simply can't shift.
oh,
I hope that help is ahead,
I
because I don't see another avenue, unless there's,
no,
federal stimulus
no,
directed at them.
there
I'm
has to be.
happy that, when the PPP loans were out, of course, we, like everybody else, applied for and got one, and it's been
Hmm.
extremely helpful,
Yep,
almost as an
absolutely.
insurance policy. Um, but the next round, I think, needs to be a little bit more precisely directed at companies that haven't found a way through, because
Yeah, I
there's so
can't
many of
disagree
them.
with you.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah.
PPP. That was an interesting topic. I mean, PPP was our lifesaver. I mean, I
Hmm.
can tell you that taking the shot to the head that we took in losing all that seasonal business. And again, there's a software company that's out to have a seasonal component, but we are seasonal, and in fact, in 2 seasons now. It was a good hearty season for us because everybody's getting budgets out. But that first one was a blow, and then just without that PPP, there's no way. I
Hmm.
know for sure I wouldn't have been able to meet my financial commitments early,
Hmm.
and it wasn't until June where it started to feel normalized again, and it was a godsend.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, the
so
spiral
yeah,
that
it's
decreasing staff would have introduced would have been,
yeah, yeah,
I don't know how you
totally.
recover from it in any sort of,
Well, I
um,
couldn't because my business is all capital. Is all the capital is human capital. But you're to the point of we have a lot of clients. We have several restaurant clients. I think you might as well.
mhm,
And I do feel like it's time to make a very targeted hospitality industry. I saw a really interesting write up. It was somebody on Twitter. I'm not going to even try to trace back the tweet and the retweet that brought that. And by the way, I never use as a my Twitter handle is just my name, and that's how long I've been. Never used the platform till this last
mhm,
9 months ever. Uh, just knew it was there. But anyway, and he said in this kind of series of tweets was. It's time to tell those folks to basically say if you're running whether it be a hotel, restaurant, you're going to take we're going to foot the bill. You're going to shut everything down. You're going to pay your staff. You're going to pay everybody, and you're going to just shut down for 2 months,
mhm,
and just take that demand off the table where they don't have to open up to be in business. We don't have to feel. I mean, I constantly feel like I have to go to places to
mhm,
support them, right?
mhm,
Because I don't want them to die. I mean, we just heard that Rieger is going to close November 1st. I mean,
mhm.
that's a I would
It's like an
consider that to
institution.
be an institution. I mean, to me,
Yeah.
it fits within the Savoy and the American and these kind of iconic, restaurants and places of meeting in Kansas City, and they're gone, and
Mhm.
or retooling or rethinking their lives at this point. I think that's horse crap. I
Yeah.
think really it's time for the. I would love to see a stimulus that is very much targeted and focused at that industry.
Yeah. No, and I think
Yeah,
I
it's
hope
tough to
that
see our
that's
friends in
coming.
that business.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't understand why it needs to be a political issue in that case either, because especially as you head into winter, there's no doubt of the dangers of sharing indoor space without a mask. Like, it's
Yeah,
not great. And
I just wouldn't
so,
do it. Yeah,
yeah, it's not, the numbers don't lie. So
yeah.
hopefully that
Well,
can
as I like to
happen.
say to people, I had the person I was having lunch with owns a restaurant here, and man, it was tough. I know what he's going through, and is a close friend of mine from way back from college, and it's tough.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and you're right. Going into a place, and so we need to do something to
Hmm.
shore up those businesses. It's just too many people employed in them to be good
Hmm.
for this country to have no revenue flowing through, no cash flowing through the hospitality sector.
Hmm.
And then you just think about what it does to um, of mostly female population that works within that industry, and a lot of that industry anyway. and that's a big segment of the population right now struggling to make ends meet. So I think it would be a tremendous move on as a country if we could, collectively pour our heads out and actually do the right things at the right times for the right
Yeah,
people. Would be neat.
I agree. I agree. Um, the have you guys noticed, I don't know how much you guys work with it. One of the things we've noticed on the IT side has been a really I'm trying to think of the word without saying six more times. there's security issues are on the rise. There's with people
Absolutely.
working from home, with more traffic being driven through websites or online portals or VPNs or any of the online tools. We've had firsthand experiences with clients having successful and unsuccessful phishing attempts against them. I guess in your guys' industry, have you seen some of the same, or is part of the work that you're doing to shore some of that up for people?
Well, yeah, we have not seen necessarily an increase in the number of breaches or attempted hacks and things like that. What probably where I kind of saw really the challenges and the opportunities was that it would be an increase in people trying to do transactional work online, and even that simple maybe non-transactional web session was more valuable than maybe it was before. So I think what we spent our time and our effort in is shoring up our everything from our cyber insurance
Absolutely.
and to ensure that our coverages were proper. We acquired a product called from a company called Qualys that allows us to not only scan and produce vulnerability reports on our stuff, but also be able to even look at prospective clients ahead of time to really understand, have they taken that seriously?
Right.
And go back to, I think we went back through and scanned everything that we have done in the last 6 months to look for vulnerabilities, and are now trying to address any things that were introduced. But so what we, to your point, is that we spent more time shoring up what was happening, what had we done, how can we improve that
Hmm.
process, and we started that in early July, and now feel really comfortable. In fact, the call I had before, though we didn't have any scans that we ran this last week, we're right in the middle of production of several projects. We meet regularly every Wednesday at 1:30, talk through what scans do we run, what are we seeing, what are the new vulnerabilities. I think it's a
Hmm.
much bigger issue. I think it's going to continue to be, and I think
Hmm.
we're past the date when you can not pay attention to security.
Yeah, for
Yet at the
sure.
same time, it puts an amazing burden, as even when we talk to you guys, hey, we want to shore up our
Hmm.
VPN, we want to do this, we want to do this. It's a lot of money,
Yeah.
and it's tough on small companies to do that. But
Hmm.
I think what we're going to do over the next days is choose to be more secure, a lot
Hmm.
more.
Yeah, something we need to have a conversation apart from this video, but I'll plant the bug in your ear now. Something that has been front of mind for us now for a few months is it has become even more difficult to ascertain who you're talking to. So like someone
Hmm.
submits us a ticket via email.
Yeah,
For a long time, we've kind of taken that request at face value. And in a world where people aren't in the office, you couldn't verify with someone else. You can't, like, there's the
yeah,
number of ways to verify identity continue to decrease. And so
yeah,
we've been kind of flailing around trying to figure out the best solution to verify that who
yeah,
we're talking to is who we think we're talking to. And there's very
yeah.
few solutions
Interesting.
to
Yeah, I
validate that.
bet. Yeah,
There's a company that does have a physical button you can plug into your computer that if you press that button, it creates a ticket with us. And it
yeah,
would attach a whole bunch of local info that would match up with our system. So that's one
yeah,
option, but that only helps with like my computer's having a trouble type ticket.
yeah,
When you get somebody saying, "Hey,
yeah,
I need these users terminated," or "I need access to this mailbox because these people are now gone," like those
yeah.
types of requests, in a world where phishing and social engineering are as prevalent as they are,
Easy. Yeah,
we're trying to figure out how to kind of shore that up. So might be something we
that's
can
an interesting part.
continue a conversation
No,
on.
yeah, no, it's interesting. That is right. We don't have as much of that because when we get a ticket, we use Freshdesk,
Mhm.
and when we get a ticket in, um, you know, we're looking at development instance or a staging instance. We're taking a look at what it is. So we kind of don't reveal a lot back and forth. But yeah, I could see where that would be an issue. I mean, it starts to get my brain thinking about how you do it. And you're right. I mean, what would prevent someone from sending you a ticket saying, "Hey, it's Cello. I'm not in my regular email today." And
or
hey,
even
I
if
need to
they
get
get
into.
access to your
I
email,
need
that
to.
it's
Can
a
you get me
kiddie.
into
Yeah.
QuickBooks?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's we kind of had an instance like that, not directed at us. It was directed at the client's bank, and the bank fell for it. So it
Yeah.
was a bad situation, as you might guess. But we're
Social
one of the
engineering
things we're
hacks are the
recommending for our
worst.
clients, anybody that has to do a lot of financial transactions, we finally just said we can't think of a better way to verify those transactions than to get on a video call. Because I was like,
Yeah.
SMS can get intercepted and you can spoof a SIM card. Same with like, as you go down the list, unless you're looking at video, yes, there will be ways to manipulate that long-term, but not live.
Yeah, not live. Well, it's certainly not within the cost factors
exactly.
that
They're looking for low-hanging fruit.
random criminal is going to figure it out.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird, and that, I mean, that cat and mouse game is going to continue forever, but it's, it definitely seems to be more prevalent now just because you have people inherently disconnected from one another. So some of the mechanisms of, yelling across the room, "Hey, did you want me to do that wire transfer?" Yeah. Like it's a whole different scenario. So
absolutely.
I don't know. Very interesting.
That's something, we don't have that much, but I would imagine maybe some of our clients would have that kind of very easy to kind of get in there.
There we go.
And get access. or frankly, pretend like they're somebody like us. Or like you guys,
exactly.
Right? Hey, I need your password to get into this thing.
Yeah, it's not really, it's not singular directional like the, especially, so like we're working on our website right now, for instance, and we're going back and forth on how much staff info we provide about us in a specific effort to minimize social engineering attempts. So it's, and at one point I wanted to have like a scroll of some of our more notable clients' logos, and I'm backing off that idea because then you've teed somebody up to start to mess with you. So it's exactly. It's interesting.
Yes, that it is. And it's that constant cost benefit analysis you have to do on even, as you said, simple promoting your work. And what is it going to be? And it's interesting that I always think about that when we're putting in everybody's information online. And somebody used to say to me, "Well, I'm worried about people trying to steal my employees." I said, I don't think that's really the thing that you should be worried about. Like, I got 50 other ways to, if I want to talk to a developer
in that
works for you.
yeah.
Believe me, I can find them much faster than looking at your website.
Yeah, well, and the real danger of that, from our perspective, at least until somewhat recently, was you're almost certainly going to get a phishing attempt where they're purporting to be someone, the controller emailing the president, or the president emailing somebody. Using spoofed email accounts. Like, if people had their names and email addresses online, they were almost 100% of the time going to face that. So it's kind
absolutely.
Well,
we're right in the middle of making a new site, so it's interesting. It will be one of the things that we try to discuss a little bit in more depth, because we are going back and forth of how much do we show of our team versus, and that is the concern. The concern is privacy.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time today. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, man. Anytime. Right. Anytime.
It's nice to see you, even though if it's not in person.
All right. Take good care.